tilted there, my guy. That feels a little bit, you know what I mean? Don't know how I feel about that one, but it's not great. It is January 1st, 2024, and I think I'm gonna regret this. Ready? Rolling. Hey, I'm Chey, and if you want to read more, I may have your ticket. Don't worry, you don't actually have to see a judge. It's no points on your license. This actually doesn't require a license at all, which is great because I've been banned in 17 states from actually owning dumbest bit ever. Back to 10 p.m. shenanigans. Actually 11 p.m. Let's go. Let's go. Starting off strong here. Long story short, I've always been an avid reader from the time that I was a wee bitty baby all the way up until high school. Or I'd rather say I started falling off in high school, but then it went when I got to college. Which I think is the case for a lot of people. You know, you get swamped with academic readings, you don't really have time, you're too busy trying to survive off a 99-cent CVS ramen, which is 50 cents on Tuesdays sometimes, depending on where you are, or at least it used to be, or maybe that's a false memory I made up based on ramen trauma, and, you know, your outside reading falls off. It happens. That was the case with me. But I've always loved reading, and I was like, I kind of want to do that again. And it's actually really funny, because part of what started me on this was PewDiePie. I was watching one of his philosophy videos, and I decided I wanted to read Seneca. I wanted to read the Stoics. Here's the issue. Number one, me and philosophy don't mix well. But I know that it is practical, useful, important knowledge to study, and I was like, dang it, I want to try it, because I've taken philosophy classes in college, but I was like, I want to do my own self-study. At the very least, I wanted to challenge myself to read something sort of out of my comfort zone, but would scratch that little challenge itch in my ADHD brain to be like, I did that. I got the book, and it was 400 pages. What's a girl to do when she has 2 theses she's writing, 2 part-time jobs, in the middle of the pan-DD, not good with philosophy to begin with, and also has all these other classes going on, and trying to find a job in this collapsing economy and, you know, world... You know? Because I'm built just a little bit different, I was taking an 8 a.m. class by choice. Granted, it was a creative writing class, still an 8 a.m. class. And so I was like, I'm gonna work my reading as a way into my little morning routine that I have. I wanted a habit that was consistent, but not burdensome. And I wanted a habit that was guilt-free if I didn't accomplish it that day, but also felt like an accomplishment if I did. And I don't know where it came from, but I just decided 10 pages a day. It's a nice, even number. It hits right at the 2-digit mark. It not only seemed to hit all the sweet spots that I was talking about, but also thinking about it mathematically, it's like, okay, reading a 400-page book, 10 pages a day, only takes 40 days to read it, just a little over a month. I figured, why not give it a shot? So I did. Boy freaking howdy. Oh my god, I finished it in less than a month. I finished it in less than 40 days. Probably should have said those things in the reverse. Just because I'm graduated from college doesn't mean that I'm smart. I was right in thinking that it hit all those sweet spots. It was something that I felt like I could actionably do every single morning, or at least at some point easily during my day. It was like, I can set aside time for 10 pages. Whenever I got to the point of reading 10 pages, when I got to that 10-page mark, often it was in the middle of a page break or the page right before a next chapter, and so I ended up reading the next page just to be like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this chapter, or oh, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this section. So I often ended up reading more than 10 pages a day without even really trying to. I got bonus XP for streaks or something. As you can tell, that accomplishment really affected me because it was a strategy that worked when a lot of habits and strategies like that have never stayed consistent with me, have never been successful over an elongated period of time. But this one did. And more than that, I liked having something to show for it at the end. I liked being able to be like, oh, look what I did. I did this. I read this. I did that. Especially because, like I said, philosophy, not my thing. I mean, it is. I want it to be my thing. Philosophy does not want me. Except for my epistemology class, I made like an A in. Do not ask me how. The only thing I remember about that class is that during a lesson, I made a very clever reference to the song What is Love while actually being relevant to the lesson. Goes to show what I learned. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. What the hell was that? After college, when I was able to have a little bit more free time, or at least, in the afternoons not working, when I was able to pick up a book on my own, I didn't really have a need for the 10 pages a day thing anymore. And then I remembered my hordes of books that I had dusting on my shelves, which I had been collecting for years and been meaning to get to, but hadn't yet. A lot of nonfiction books. I still hear you echoing over there, Johnny Bravo. Applause if you've been here since the Mule Day video and you recognize this reference. Reverb, man. Get you some. So I had these giant stacks of books that I had been collecting, not yet gotten to, but I was still interested in. Some I hauled away, but there were others that had just been on there forever that I'm like, I still want to read you, but I'm also so intimidated. Even as someone who graduated with a history degree, someone who's always been a giant history nerd, someone who's been a military nerd for most of their life, which is very stats and data heavy, I was still like, Since this was sort of the same apple born out of a different tree, if you will, I decided this strategy that I used in college would probably work for this as well. At least it was worth a shot. And it isn't just books that have been lingering on your shelf. Maybe there's just a book that kind of intimidates you, but that you've always wanted to get to, like a philosophy book, like I did originally. This is a great strategy for that. And since, mentally, I knew that, I wanted to try and work this in as a daily habit, not just a situational habit to finish all these books on my shelves, but I was like, hey, there's always going to be books that I'm kind of intimidated to start but want to read, so I want to make this a daily morning habit again. So last year was my initial test run. I started in August and ended in December. It was so successful that I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna keep doing this. And so I decided, when I get that sweet non-monetized content out of it too. And I decided to do a whole year edition of it, baby! Back to the funny part. So PewDiePie was kind of the original inspiration for how I came to this conclusion. I'm very much certain that I am not the first person to be like, hey, 10 pages a day sounds reasonable. Very much certain I'm not. But he was like the original inspiration that drew me to that conclusion for myself. And why it's really funny is his latest book video, talking about the book club, he mentions that if the books seem a little bit intimidating, you could, I don't know, read them for 10 pages a day. Mr. Pie? Are you in sync? Are you watching? You're welcome here. That's why it's funny, because he was the original inspo that led me to here, and then it's all coming back full circle right as I'm filming this video, or a few days ago when I saw that he uploaded that video and watched it, I was like, are you kidding me? Bro! It made me stupidly happy, okay? These are little rules that I follow to help me with my 10 pages a day journey habit, but are by no means necessarily required. Take them like a pinch of salt, as you will whatever you want. Number one, possibly the most important, stick with one book at a time. I learned this lesson the hard way the first time I did this as a test run, and it was messy. It was, so, one book at a time. Second rule, you can read more than 10 pages a day. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say, actually, I have the perfect example, hold on. So let's say, for instance, you're reading The Hunger Games, and you go from page 20, and you get to page 30, right? But oh, look at this. The next page, the next 2 pages, there's a chapter. Just read those 2 pages and get to the next chapter, like I did with the philosophy book. Boom! You just read 12 pages that day. Before you know it, those little steps add up to much, much bigger ones. Trust me, it is wild to watch it happen in real time. So 10 pages isn't like the hard baseline, it's more of like the minimum to strive for. If you get to the point of 10 pages and you feel like, dang, that's really good, I want to keep reading this today, okay, go ahead. Awesome. The point is just to read more. Do it. I'm trying to be a little bit more harsh on myself since I'm doing this for a video and the, nice, neat statistics. So where I set my line is if the next section is more than 5 pages, so if it's more than 15 pages total, then I wait till the next day. That's me personally. You do what you want. I'm not gonna come after you. Not for that. So I just finished filming a wrap-up for the shorter version of this video. That video is like a trial run. This is me gonna be attempting to try it the entire year. and document the experience. This is just gonna be more when I can, some general B-roll footage and just updates and thoughts as I go along. Really gonna work on trying to structure it, you know, like I should for my whole life. Yikes. I'm still reading The Makers of Modern Strategy from Machiavelli to the Nuclear Age. This is a book of various essays on the history of makers of modern strategy from Machiavelli to the nuclear age. I am 30 pages behind where I should have ended the year at in this book. And so add that to the 10 pages I need to read today, that's 40 pages I need to read today. I started on page 217. I should wind up on 257 by tonight. I'm just going to read as much as I can before bed, and then it'll be easier to catch up tomorrow. Hello! You can't see me talking. Hello! Welcome into the new year! I kind of already made the introduction to this part of the new year, but as I said, I'm only going to be updating intermittently, not every single day, because this is going to be the year-long 10-page-a-day reading challenge. That would be a nightmare. And kind of like the lighting situation is out here right now. Let me try and get my life together a little bit. It has been the first week of this challenge, and I would like to update you on currently where I am. So I'm still working on Makers of Modern Strategy, this big boy. I started off the year at this page number. I'm going to put it in because I don't remember off the top of my head, but I have it written down somewhere, so this is editing Chey's problem. Currently page 331, and I am 2 days behind. Why am I 2 days behind, you ask? Because I haven't read my pages today, and I didn't read them yesterday because I spent all day yesterday note-taking and filming a video review of Beartooth's album, The Surface, which I hope to go up tomorrow. But my laptop is charging up, even though I have to edit all night tonight. It's beautiful weather out here. It's sunny. Even in the middle of January, we've been having snow. Well, not snow, but almost snow, freezing temperatures, rain, heavy rain, and like wind and gray clouds all week. So I'm out here enjoying this as much as I can. I'm also talking super fast because my phone has been trying to just constantly tell me that I'm running out of space a lot. And even though that's it's ridiculous. Anyway, since my laptop is charging and I'm between editing sprints, I decided I'd sit out here in this beautiful weather and catch up on the 20 pages that I am behind on. That's pretty much it. But how's the challenge going in general? I think it's going pretty well. Like, yeah, I've missed a couple days here and there, but yesterday was understandable because I really wanted to get that video done, and I'm really proud of myself for that, so whatever. And I still have plenty of time today to read 20 pages, so again, whatever. I've actually been pretty good about it. I haven't been reading in the morning as I want, mostly just because it's been, you know, getting over the holiday season, the New Year's, and then I've also been dealing with personal work stuff and videos, like trying to get that video done and trying to just organize my life. I do have a better feeling though about how this is going to go throughout the rest of the year.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Because I am doing better at making it a priority and making sure that if I do miss a few days, I catch up as soon as possible and not just let it overwhelm me. Last year, if I missed a couple days, I would start getting overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, especially a book like this, which is very dense and very heavy, something like The Old Man and the Sea. I missed like 7 days of reading in it, and it's like, yeah, that's relatively compared to this book, that book's really easy to read. Overall, though, I am feeling a lot better. I feel like I'm doing better at prioritizing it and getting it done, and overall enjoying it, to the point now where I'm almost to the halfway point in this book, and I'm getting really excited about the prospect of finishing it, because it's gonna look like it's not gonna be finished till March, but I'm like already excited thinking about, oh no, what am I gonna read next? What's gonna be next on this challenge? So, I don't know, I think it's fun. I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving working reading back into my life without it feeling like a chore. It feels really nice to have a way to prioritize it in my day, even though it doesn't seem like a priority, because I'm just like, oh, I'll do it whatever, as long as I do it today. With my ADHD, sometimes that's the best I can do. And you know what? I'm darn proud of myself for doing it as much as I have been. I'm gonna shut up and get to reading. See you next time. I've been putting off this update way too long, so I'm just gonna film it in this crappy lighting on my bed because we keep it real here. Ow, my wrist. Today is January 25th. I figured that I'm gonna try and update generally weekly in this video because that'll be a little bit easier, I feel like. Every week or every few weeks or when I finish a book. Currently, I am caught up, but I just got caught up yesterday. I have figured out that when life gets busy, I tend to just not prioritize this, but I'm getting better at getting caught up in shorter links rather than letting it drag for a long period of time and then the thought of catching up intimidating me into procrastinating even further and making it worse. So that's a win. We're already progressing. But I was behind for a little while. I won't say how much. I will just say that now I'm caught up and I'm very happy about it. I'm on page 491. We were on, I think I started the year on 351.
I hope you're proud of yourself. What do you mean? I mean you disgraced us with your pitiful performance. There's no excuse for you f***ing the way you did. You have Saiyan blood running through your veins. A warrior like Kapura should be dead. And now you're sitting here scratching your head, wondering what's next when it should already be finished. You are pitiful.
251? Something like that. I should be able to do math for 24 days times 10. 240, so, should be 250. Either way, I'm caught up, and I cannot believe I'm already over halfway through this book. This much of the book is just notes and citations, okay? It's just bibliography and citations and stuff like that. This is how much of the actual book, actual reading I have left to go. I am now more into the book than I have left of it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I mean, look at this chonker. 1,000 pages, pretty much. I somehow hurt my wrist, and it's been bothering me for the past few days. I am just bewildered. I'll just say I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would, and finishing this book off as my first 10-page-a-day book of the year, I feel like it's gonna give me such an ego boost, because I'm like, if I can finish this, I can finish anything. No, but I am really enjoying it. I'm really proud of myself for sticking to it so far. It's not as hard to read as I thought. It is still intimidating, and it's very fact-heavy, but it's still digestible to me, especially because only taking it 10 pages a day. Recently, until I got caught up, I was reading about 20. I won't talk about it, but reading 10 pages a day is like pretty digestible, and it makes me want to read more. But I don't just want to read this book straight through, or just like read it whenever, because then that kind of defeats the point. But that's where we're at so far. How you doing down there? You chilling out? You having a good time? I am. I just finished reading my 10 pages for today. I am late on reading them. I didn't read them this morning, but I also wanted to give you a little update because today is January 31st. We are through the first month of this year-long 10 pages a day challenge, and I figured it was time for a little bit of a check-in. I am still reading this. Who is shocked? No one. I am on page 551. 22 more days, and I will finish this. I will finish this before the end of February.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
That's wild to me. That's so wild. I'm so proud of myself. I have been keeping up with it pretty well, I'd say. I've gotten behind a few days here and there, but never a massive amount. I don't think I've gotten behind like 5 or 6 days at a time this month. I don't think so. I know like 2 or 3, maybe 4, but I don't think like 5 or 6 yet. Not saying it will happen, because life happens, but I feel like I've been doing pretty well, pretty good, like pretty easily catching up whenever I do fall behind. I've started being better at finding little moments in my day where I'm like, oh, I could read a page, and then I'll only have 9 more left today. Like, I don't have to do all 9 or all 10 at the same time, but it's helpful to go ahead and get it done. That way you don't have to start the same thing 10 times. So while I'm not always perfectly reading the 10 pages a day, I am getting better at finding time to prioritize it, or just finding moments throughout the day, because I think part of why I was falling behind is because in my head, I'm like, if I don't get it done in the morning, which is the goal, then I'm not going to get it done at all. Yay, black and white thinking. I've started getting better about that, though, about working around that. Instead of just doom scrolling on my phone, I'll let my phone charge, I'll put my phone away, and I'll grab this, and I'm like, okay, I cannot look at my phone again until I finish these 10 pages. Or I just tell myself, like, I don't want to be on my phone anymore, I don't want to watch TV, I want to do something nourishing and nurturing to my brain, I want to learn, and so I'll grab this and read my 10 pages. I'm getting better about finding little nuggets of time throughout the day, even if I don't get it done in the morning, to get this done. And I feel like that was a big problem for me previously, so I'm really proud of myself for being better about that. And I think it's going to get even better from here, because if I can start working it in like that, then maybe I can start getting even better about just doing it in the morning, getting it done in the morning. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes from there. But right now, baby, I am all caught up. I didn't do it this morning because I had a friend who is visiting, who I haven't seen since graduating college, 3 years, come down, and we hung out. He spent the night, and we spent the day like, doing stuff. So, it's a really fun time, but he is gone. He's on his way back to Memphis, back to work, and I'm here at this terrible angle, but it's gonna be a short review. It's gonna be a short clip anyway. So, first month, done, in the bag, very happy with it. I am very, very happy that I took on this challenge. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see all the books that I'm gonna read. The problem is trying to figure out what I'm gonna read for the rest of the year, because I'm getting to where I'm like, oh, this is gonna be done soon. What's gonna be next? Overall, though, happy with this, proud of me. I think it's going well. I hope it continues to go well. I guess we'll see where it takes us. Because at this rate, I should be finished with this on February 22nd. That's if I read no extra pages. That's if I continue to read 10 pages a day for 22 more days. I'm gonna go read something else now. Bye. I'm not even gonna lie. It has been quite a hot minute since I've read my 10 pages a day in this book. I think I'm over a week behind. My Goodreads says that my last update was a week ago, so maybe it is only 70 pages, but it feels like a lot more. I haven't been reading because I have been so hyper fixated on all of my other projects that I want to get done because I'm really excited about them. So in a way, I'm frustrated, but I'm not extremely upset because I'd feel more upset if I hadn't been doing anything else. But I have some time today between my laptop charging, and I'm going to take a break between stints of editing, and I'm going to try and catch up as much as I can. And I'm on page 581. I think I estimated for this book to be done by the 22nd, so yikes. Yikes. Right now, I'm just gonna worry about reading as much as I can in this because I know I'm very much behind. I just wanted to give a quick little update on that, be honest about it, but also find kind of relief in it because, like I said, I've been doing a lot of stuff that I'm proud of and I've been wanting to do for a while and just working really hard, so yeah, I had to sacrifice something else to make progress in another thing, and that's fine. Equivalent exchange. Okay, I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna get to reading. Hello. This is a little bit of a different angle, isn't it? It's because I'm outside because it is a very nice day in February, and it's like sunny and 65, and it's probably gonna be something more like, I don't know, snow flurries on Friday, so screw that. Update on the 10 pages a day. I don't know how many days I'm behind. Quite frankly, I have stopped counting, and I have been beating myself up, being like, Chey, we need to go back and work out, because I had an idea of where I was supposed to be, but then when I started going back and counting, I couldn't figure it out. I was confusing myself. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to be here, because I thought that that meant I was going to finish it by this date, but by this calculation, that's, entirely wrong. So, I'm going to be honest, I have no idea where I stand. I know I'm behind by many days. I know I'm supposed to be on, 700 or something by now, but I'm only on page 611. And I have not been reading. I have not. And I've been beating myself up about, Chey, you need to catch up. Is that a four-leaf clover? Chey, you need to catch up. You need to catch up. You need to figure out how far you are behind and catch up. Well, you know what? I did that last year for this challenge because I truly wanted to see how much I could and read by 10 pages a day in that short amount of time. But this year-long edition, I think I more so actually want to focus on trying to make it a habit, more about quality rather than quantity. Last year was just about dipping my toes in and kind of seeing what the quantity would turn out to be. This year, I really want it to be about quality, about making it happen rather than just, the quantity of what could happen. So, I have decided, for the sake of my own sanity, because I think part of what's happening is I feel so bad about missing so many days and dreading the catch-up that I am just subconsciously not wanting to read at all. So I'm going to stop myself from trying to play catch-up, and I'm just going to pick this back up where I left off. I'm not going to worry about playing catch-up anymore. Hi, babies! The crows. I'm not going to worry about playing catch-up anymore at all. I'm just actually going to focus and work on trying to pick this up every single day. And I have made that commitment now, and we're gonna see how it does, but I just wanted to catch up and tell you that, because that's a big change. I was fighting on being I have 100 pages to catch up on, but no more. I'm not gonna worry about trying to catch up anymore. We're just gonna pick it up when we can and see how long it takes us, see how the habit picks up. It's gonna get done. It's gonna get done. It's just gonna be later than I expected. Terrible. at keeping up with the 10 pages a day for a year. I have been absolutely horrible at it. Pretty much all through April. Didn't do it. Pretty much all through March. Didn't do it. Been trying to be better. The start of May, you know, had a bunch of the spicy head stuff going on. And, you know, it's not about, like, making sure I stick to it no matter what. It's just about trying. And it's just about prioritizing it and, you know, doing the absolute best that I can. And I have an exciting update. Today, this boy. Basically, I have 15 pages left until I'm done. And then this guy, which I started reading last year, will be done. And I am just so ready to be done with this book and be on to the next one. I'm definitely choosing a shorter read for my next read. I don't quite know what it's going to be yet, because I don't know if I want to go the fictional route or nonfiction. I think I want to keep going nonfiction. Reasonable amount of pages to the next chapter rule, and this guy, this 900, almost 1,000 page book, will be done. I'm so happy. No one cares but me. But, like, this is an accomplishment for me. I remember getting this at the Georgetown bookstore and just being like, yeah, I don't need this for class. I'm just actually genuinely interested in it. And so to actually have read it and finished it and be like, yeah, I've read every single page in here. That's amazing. It's amazing to me. And I do plan on going back and rereading bits in this because, as you can imagine, there's so much in here. It's kind of hard to all take in. So I will go back and reference it and read some out of it every now and then. I don't plan on getting rid of it. I want to add that in, since I kind of did that in the reviews at the end of last year's video with other books. We are done. We're officially done. It's over. It's over. Done. Absolutely done. Look at this. Look at this dude. Look at this dude. It's done. I don't know what I'm going to read next, but I'm going to sit here, drink my coffee, and watch TV for a little bit. Because I'm very proud of myself. That's my treat for myself this morning. I'm going to watch a 90s sitcom and drink my coffee. I realize I look sick whenever I don't wear my glasses. I'm not sick. At least I don't feel sick. Is my face trying to tell me something that I don't know? Like, my nose is very rosy red. You know what I think it is? I think it's my tan. Because I wear my glasses or I wear my sunglasses when I'm outside. Yeah, because look at my forehead. I mean, I would never tell you to do that any other time, but maybe that's what it is. Is my nose so... It looks red, though. Sus. I'm definitely gonna storm outside soon, but we enjoying this. I can't believe how far I am in it already. It's a good thing. What's up, fam? I have been procrastinating on making this update for way too long. I think it's partially because I think my phone's about to run out of storage if I make this clip, so that'll inspire me to make this quick. I finished this book. I finally finished this honkin' sucker, which feels so freaking good because it's been sitting on my shelf since 2018, 2016. I have the receipt in here somewhere. Chey, where is it? Chey, where is it? Chey, where is it? Chey, where is it? There it is. Come here. Come here to me. 2017. This has been on my bookshelf since 2017, and I haven't read it, even though I've been really wanting to, and I finally did. I don't know why I didn't. I guess just because I felt intimidated by it, because I thought it was going to be one of those military books where, like I said, everything feels too complicated and too much terminology and blah, 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 blah. Not like, it doesn't seem like a conversational kind of thing, which usually when military books are written by people who were in the military, typically, or at least the ones that I do, like spec ops stuff, they tend to be more on that side and I can understand it better. And typically books written by people outside of that tend to be more technical. In fact, well, they're all facts-based, but you know what I mean, like they're more technical speak, and so I guess that's why this kind of scared me, because I figured it was going to be real fact heavy and technical heavy, the language, the way that the prose is going to be written, but it wasn't. I flew through this. Like, I wanted to read more than 10 pages in it. It was actually a struggle because I was like, oh, I understand all this stuff. And it might have been a catch-22 because by the time that I've read this, I've read so many other books in military literature, military, you know, memoirs, and know all this information more than what I did back then, which even back then, I knew a lot. So, either way, I enjoyed it. I had a really good time. It feels good to finally finish this thing and get it done. Where we are now, I started reading The Art of Power, another book that has been on my shelves for a very long time, and I'm currently 100 and something pages into it. I'm currently 119 pages into it. Chapter 11. This far. These are like the annotations and like the notes in it, so not actual like part of the reading book. This is how much more I have to read. Honestly, it's one of the easiest books to read for this challenge because pretty much every chapter is just about 10 pages. A lot are exactly 10 pages, so it's like this book was designed for this challenge. It's kind of amazing, actually. Anyway, I missed a lot. I missed a lot of days this year where I just didn't read 10 pages a day. And so I finally went through and I tallied up how many days that I have missed, how many days that if I was going to catch up, I'd have to catch up on. I stopped the habit for a while. Like, there was like a month almost straight where like I did not read the 10 pages a day, and stress. It just didn't happen. It just didn't end up happening. But I have gotten back into the habit. I've gotten back on track. Where in the world do my stats go? Because I wrote this down. Chey, what the heck? So I actually started writing down the books and the days started and the days ended and the pages in a physical journal instead of just on my Notion. I wrote Makers of Modern Strategy, which was the book I started the year with because I didn't finish it last year, on January 1st. I finally finished it on May 11th. Well, it should have taken me 61 days total to read that book. It took me 130. So that means I missed 69 days within that time frame. So I'm 69 days behind, technically, even though I'm back on track. Will I be making that up? I thought about it, because there's sometimes I read these books and I'm like, I could read 10 more pages and make up some of those days. But this is more of an honest experiment just to see how well I do without trying to make up that stuff. Like, honestly, just see how I get along and actually trying to implement this habit into my life. So I'm gonna keep it honest. And that's the honest truth right now, is that I missed 69 days. Pretty much, I'm gonna say they were pretty much all in a row. That doesn't mean I didn't read it all in those 69 days, just that I didn't read those 10 pages, those 69 days. That is where we currently stand. This, I should not be holding that in my injured wrist, will be finished within another month or so, because I estimated that it's going to take me about 49 days, but I think I'm already ahead of schedule on that. I think I'm going to sell this one when I'm done with it, though. Not because it's bad, just because, again, it's information that I kind of already know, but there's also stuff in here that I don't know, so I am going to continue reading it and learning from it. Just, I'm not quite sure that I'm going to keep it yet. Cool. See you later. Hi, crow babies. They're in the field. They're in the field, friends. Hello, my friends. Long time no see. I realized it's been quite a while since I actually made an update on this video, besides just B-roll. I think the last time that I actually spoke to you was when I finished this guy. I think that's the last time I talked to you. And since then, I have started and finished 2 entirely new books. Where is the other one? I've since finished two more books since then. I should not use my hurt wrist to do that. So far this year, just 10 pages a day, here's where we're at. I don't have the number off the top of my head. Editing Chey will do that, and by editing Chey, I mean Chey, as soon as this clip is finished, she will go in there and add it up and then write it down for future use, putting it in there, because I don't want to hate myself. This is what we finished so far this year. I did not read this one from start to finish this year, but these two, I did, and that by itself is impressive alone. Oh, what I was gonna say, get it together, Chey. About the nonfiction thing is so far this year, up until recently, I've just been focusing on my nonfiction books. I think it's because they make up the biggest stack. This is my TBR shelf in this corner. They make up the biggest portion of my TBR shelf of books that have been here the longest, I think. Because I've slowly started working my way through my backlist of fiction books I've had for a long time. So it's mainly these nonfiction books I've had for years that have been staring me in the face. And as I've said with this challenge, part of it is to actually start slowly working my way through those books. And I would say mission so far is successful. So the next one that I finished was John Meacham's Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power. Another big boy that's been on my shelf. I love the Revolutionary War, just that whole time period. I didn't have an Egypt phase as a kid. Mine was the Revolutionary War, and still is. I just think it's a fascinating time period. And so my Revolutionary War reading kind of got a second wind in high school whenever I believe it was my advanced placement AP US History A-Push class, and we had to do a book report, and we had a list of books, or we could choose one of our own and get it approved. So I chose this one, and it was George Washington's Secret Six, the spy ring that saved the American Revolution. Very short, very accessible, such a fun time, and I believe that plus the Hamilton whole craze thing just like re-kicked in that Kindle in me. Not sponsored. I don't even have a Kindle. Okay, George, you're just gonna have to sit there on the floor. Point is, I have all these American Revolutionary War books that are sitting on my shelf that I never got to, because it's kind of the same thing with my military history books. I've learned so much and I've absorbed so much information that I'm kind of like, do I already know most of the info that's in here? So do I really need to? But also, maybe I don't. Maybe I just want to keep it on my shelf as like a reference book or, whatever. But I have to be able to read them to find that out. Or, even if the information is outdated and proved by other yeah, that's the phrase I wanted. I've clearly been reading intellectual work and see if the writing is actually still historically accurate, is what I'm saying. This was the next one, Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power. It's just a biography about Thomas Jefferson. Not really much to say about it. I really enjoyed it. John Meacham, I didn't know, is I almost said relative. Native to Nashville, which is cool. Native to Tennessee, I should say, rather. I thought this was well done, well put together. I looked at some reviews on Goodreads, and a lot of them are rating the book low just because of Jefferson personally, and I get it. Okay, cool. I don't understand why you're rating the book low because of that. Now, there were people being like, oh, it gives a favorable light to Jefferson, and I don't like... That's fine. That's a criticism of the book. But they're like, Thomas Jefferson was a terrible person, 2 stars. And I'm like, do you think that he wrote this? As far as a biography goes, and as far as historical research goes, I enjoyed this. I think if you're interested in the American Revolutionary period, or Thomas Jefferson, even as a character, not to heroize. I always forget if vilify is a good complimentary term or not. I don't think this paints him as a saint, nor as a sinner. I think it does edge a little bit into the favorable accounts. I think it's kind of explained by the author's note at the end, when he talks about all the biographies that were coming out around Adams and Hamilton and stuff like that, painting Jefferson as the villain, and so he kind of self-admits to being like, well, this wasn't an attempt to be like, no, Jefferson was actually good, and they were evil, but kind of an attempt to counterbalance by showing the different sides, by showing the other side to it, and being like, hey, actually this, too, which is cool, which is neat, which I think should be done in the sake of historical record and historical accuracy and truth. Of course, none of us alive were alive back then, and there's 3 sides to every story, but it's good to have counter voices and also facts and historical evidence and documents that back up all of these things to be able to compare against the others, So in that sense, I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, especially in regards to a lot of Jefferson's side on things. So I'll say it like this. It was interesting for me to learn about a side that I wasn't that familiar with and had kind of looked down upon because of certain things about Jefferson's character. This made me appreciate his roles a lot more, I'll say that, and understand a lot more of his character in certain decisions and things that he made. Relentless Strike I started on May 12th, anticipated for around 44 days, and I finished it on June 16th. So actually, I read it in about 36-ish days. Pretty sick. Thomas Jefferson I started on June 16th, and I read until July 26th, so I just finished it pretty recently. The estimation for reading it was around 49-ish days, because it was around like 509 pages, so I estimated about 49-ish days, because I kind of anticipated reading more than a little bit of 10 pages a day sometimes, so I was like, I'll knock a day off, not just 50, not 51, we'll say 49. The actual that I ended up reading it in was 41. I shaved 8 days off of my estimation. Had missed about a week on it, or sorry, I missed 10 days. That's the second largest gap I had because it was right after my 10K in 10 days challenge, and so I just did not read anything for 10 days. Nothing. I had enough. And finally I was catching up to where I was a few days, you know, taking a few days and reading my 10 pages, and then reading 20 more, catching up slowly what I had missed out on. As I caught up to where I should be, I was like, I only have 50 more pages left to read in this book before I finish it. And I have 69 days I could make up for 690 pages. So I went ahead and read those 50 pages. I'm only 64 days behind, technically. So I could read some more here and there to catch up, to be not as backlogged, but it's not a giant priority in my brain, but it is something that I could do, and I probably will utilize here and there if I just want to go ahead and finish a book. But I'm going to try not to do it too much. I don't feel a giant need to try and play catch up, because I feel like I'm doing pretty good already with what I'm doing. 2 days ago, I believe I still have like 150-ish days left in the year, so that's 1,500 pages still left that I could read. So Thomas Jefferson book was good, the Relentless Strike book was good, and after that, I had an idea where I was like, do I really want to read another nonfiction? Kind of, but also not kind of. I kind of just want to give my brain a break, because for the past few years, I have been so focused and really just interested in nonfiction. I mean, for a long time. And only in the past couple years have I, really since graduating college, have I started getting back into actually reading fiction. And it's funny, because as I started reading fiction books again, I realized how much faster I read fiction, and I'm like, oh, I actually read pretty freaking fast. Like, in my 10K before my 10K in 10 days challenge, I read 1,600 pages in a day. A big chunk of that was manga, but still, I read, like, 2 books. Like, two book books. I read so much faster when it's actually fiction. I think it's because my brain still wants me to try and take as much in nonfiction and memorize as much as I can. Though Allison Pages, I love her, hope she's doing well. It put a new ethos in my brain, which helped me look at nonfiction differently, which is, there's no test at the end, just pick up what you can, and pick up what you enjoy. And then I was like, well, maybe I want to read a fiction just to kind of lighten the load on my brain, just to actually kind of fly through a little bit faster, just set myself in a different world, set myself in a different pace. And so I came down to 2 different choices. I went to the Lair, Jen Agaton's Discord server, and I made a set of emojis for each, and I had people vote, and I didn't choose. They did, and the overall winner was the fiction book, The Hunger Games. Chey, you've never read The Hunger Games? Yeah, I read it when it first came out. This is an original, like, first pressing copy. I got this in, like, 5th, 6th grade for my middle school book club, because this was, like, our book. I hated it. Why did I hate it? Did I think the story was stupid? Did I not, like, was I just an edgy girl? No, I hated the writing. I literally remember to this day my criticism I gave it in book club, which was, I hate it, it's too detailed. And I still kind of agree with that, Chey, but I'm not as harsh about it. And I'm not hating it. Let me just put that out there. I'm not hating it. I'm actually really enjoying it. But what tiny middle school Chey meant is, I remember sitting there and being like, it's way too detailed. The author doesn't give me any room in my brain to have any imagination. Like, she lays out every single detail, every single thing, and I feel like I'm being smothered. I feel like I'm not allowed to use my imagination, like, whatsoever, and it's annoying. Girl came out swinging. Chey came out swinging. I think about that scathing review a lot. Every time I see this book, I'm like, Tiny Chey really had it in for The Hunger Games. And so I didn't even really read it back then, because I was just so mad that it was still our pick. I was like, I can't stand the writing in this. I just want it to be over. I can't even pay attention to the plot, because the writing style just makes me so upset. Listen, middle school Chey had a lot going on, okay? She had a lot going on. She took it out a little bit unfairly on The Hunger Games, but also I'm kind of proud of her, because she knew what she liked and she stood up for it, you know? And also, I have to say, that Chey did not vilify or whatever anybody else for actually liking the book. She was just like, no, I don't like the writing style. Book's fine. I don't like the writing style. We do not bully middle school Chey. She got enough of that. But I figured it was time for me to actually read it. Be able to say, like, I have read it. Because I've owned it ever since then. And like I said, I didn't really pay attention because I was just so seething with middle school rage then, and it became the choice, and I'm really enjoying it. I am 460 pages into it. I have estimated that it's going to take me 37 days because it's 374 pages. I think I'm probably going to finish it in like more like 30-ish. We'll see, but this, like the Thomas Jefferson book, is kind of perfect because it also pretty much has 10 to 12 pages a chapter. I'm flying through it. I'm glad this was the next choice because it feels so good to get back into. I mean, I'm reading other fiction books, but it feels nice to actually pick up a fiction book first thing in the morning, read a chapter, read 10 pages, and be like, that was nice. It is August 13th, and I am not used to holding my phone in my hands like this to film anymore. Sheesh. It's 11:09 p.m. on August 13th. I am reporting to you because I finished The Hunger Games about a little over 15 days-ish ahead of schedule. Why? You may ask, Chey. That's like, if you do the quick math, if you do some quick math, 15 days ahead, that's like 150 pages. That's a lot. You read a lot ahead, Chey. I know you said that, like, you could read like 14 pages, 4 over to get to the next chapter. 150 so pages? What's up with that, girl? I was participating in one of Jan Agaton's Full Moon Readathon. The Hunger Games just so happened to fulfill a bunch of those prompts, and I was like, you know what? It's on my list of 24 to read in 2024. It's on my 10 pages a day book. Plus, I still have all those days racked up where I skipped reading that I could make up for. Remember that 69 days-ish that got whittled down to 65? Now it's more like down to, 50-ish days. Those days ended up coming in handy, and I had no idea. I was just doing myself a favor I didn't know existed at the time, really, I think. But I finished it. Judging by my calculations, I say, I was a history major, not a math major. Judging by my calculations, I was around 4-ish days ahead of schedule anyway to finish this book. But I'm ahead, and so that means I finished it in a total of 18 days. Sick, bro. So sick. I sat here for a good couple minutes debating on whether I wanted to rate it 4 or 5 stars. I'm not a super strict star rater. I'm not. The only reason I do it is because Goodreads is annoying about it, and so I try to choose something just so it will stop bugging me about rating my books. Not my favorite book of all time, and I will tell you why. I was actually telling my mom because she was asking me, how it's going, and I told her, I said, you know what? I'm really enjoying this. I'm glad that I picked it back up and as an adult and decided to read it. And I will say, as an adult, I enjoyed it very much. I did end up rating it 5 stars on Goodreads. That's neither here nor there. I really enjoyed it, but I told my mom, I don't see myself getting as invested into the fandom, into the universe of it as much as I probably would have if I had read it when I was younger. You know what I mean? I get it. I get the hype. I get the dedication to it. And I think if I would have been into it back then, I would have been into it. Now, as an adult, I feel like the time has passed. I will say, hey Mitch, listen, I'm a sucker for the anti-hero, the jerkwad kind of characters. I love a villain. I know he's not a villain. I like unlikable characters, let's put it that way. I find them the most interesting. And not that I want to emulate them, I just find them the most interesting. There was something during the entire Hunger Games, anytime Haymitch was brought up, during the actual games, I was like, Katniss, you should be asking yourself, you underestimate Haymitch a lot. You're like, oh yeah, I bet he's, smart underneath, all being a drunk. It seems like when he's drunk, he really does have, a potential to be super smart. Girl, he won the games. How you think he did that? Did you not stop for a minute and be like, I wonder what his games were like? He clearly won. I wonder what his games were like. Do I know anything about his games? When he played in the Hunger Games, do I know anything about that? Maybe I should learn about that. Maybe I should have asked him. Finally, she's like, hey, PETA, how do you think he won? And I'm like, you're just now asking this 75% of the way into the book? You never had a thought previously. But, you know, whatever. I know she had more important things to worry about. I'm just a little surprised that it never came up, not even, like, before they got into the actual arena. Because that would have been my first thing. I would have been like, if I would have saw that drunk dude, I would have been like, how did you win? What happened here? How did you win? Was it an accident? Like, I would have been, maybe it's my ADHD, maybe it's the fact that I never shut up, but I would have been asking more questions. And maybe, you know, people are like, oh, it's the conditioning, they can't ask questions. He's their mentor. They could have asked him about his games. You know, considering it's, like, live mandatory education for everyone in Pan Am. So, don't give me that. Don't give me that. All of that's to say that I really like Hey Mitch. I've always really liked Hey Mitch. That might backfire on me. Am I going to continue with the series? I'm going to be honest with you, probably not. But I am now not opposed to it. And I brought all that up to be like the whole new content thing of, isn't the new book that's coming out about Hey Mitch's games? Or is it about someone else's? I think it's about Hey Mitch's. Anyway, if it is, I might actually devour that. I don't know. But I did enjoy it. I did rate it 5 stars. I really liked it. And like I said, I think if I would have read this when I was younger and the fandom was like, you know, all new and all the new stuff that's coming out, I probably would have been deep into it. I get it. But now I'm like, you know what, respectfully, it's not for me. It has served its place in time, in purpose, in culture, and I will look back and admire it. And the great thing about coming into a fandom late is, yeah, I don't get to participate as actively, but I can go admire the fruits of what once was. You know what I mean? A very nice break to have from all the nonfiction I've been reading for my 10 pages a day challenge. It was definitely a breath of fresh air to be able to read fiction and take myself into such a captivating story to read every morning, just bite every morning for like 10 or so minutes, you know? It's nice. And now, to counteract that, I'm going to be reading one of my biggest nonfictions, I think. I'm not going into my room to get it, because I don't want to get up from this couch. I'm underneath the blanket. I'm cozy. This update's going to be quick, because the fan is going and I don't want to turn it off. I am about 50 pages behind in my 10 pages a day book, but I feel like I can do a lot of catching up today. I just got behind because of various reasons, but I got caught up on my backlog of YouTube videos. But we're going to do a lot of catching up today. I'm still really enjoying this. Still kind of flying through it. I read like 20, almost 30 pages last night to catch up, so yay me. Good morning, friends. It is November, and it's so weird to think in 2 months this will be over and I'll have to tally up the results and see how much I read and actually physically look at it. I've been pointedly trying not to. I know I added it up a while back, or a couple clips ago to you. It's been a while back for me. But I'm excited. I'm so excited to read the last few books of this challenge this year, to start off next year, and just to see the results of this whole year's escapades. I have not finished my current read of The Gamage Cup. The previous clip is probably the one that you just saw, which I literally just took like an hour ago. But I only have a few days left on it, and then I'll be picking my next book, which will probably be the next clip. But I'm talking to you right now because I have a little bit of an issue, and I've thought of a little bit of a solution because I like to make my life difficult. Currently, where I stand is I still have 42 days that I can make up for reading if I want to. Now, here's another little conundrum that I have. I have a shelf of books at my parents' house, like a little mini shelf, that I like to say is my priority TBR, but often ends up getting neglected, and I am, quite frankly, tired of looking at it. And I think the reason that I haven't gravitated towards it lately is because it's a lot of nonfiction books. And so here's what I propose. To get through some of them, to get some of them off my shelf this year, I am going to read 10 pages a day in them. I know I'm breaking the rule of not doing it one book at a time. Hear me out. Hear me out. So, for example, I'm reading Out of the Valley of Deeps by the Ellen Willis essays. This is one of the books that I want to hurry up and read because I'm tired of looking at it on my shelf. So here's what I propose to do. Also read 10 pages in here at a time, but not read 10 pages every day. Let me explain the difference. I am already reading in this. I've read 30 pages on my own. Now, when it comes to nonfiction like this, especially stuff that is more intelligentsia, I tend to stall and plateau. Here's what I propose. I keep the main method that I have of finishing these books, this is a prime example, is I continue reading them as normal. If I ever get to a point where I feel kind of stuck, kind of plateaued, where I just want to set it aside and blatantly ignore it for the rest of the year, I'm going to use one of my makeup days and just read 10 pages to get ahead in this book. But again, I'm not going to do it every day. I'm only going to do it when I get stuck or plateaued. So I may start off by reading 10 pages in here today, and then I may end up reading 50, but I'm only going to count that original 10, and I'm only going to mark off one day for my makeup days. And I am also, because I've already thought of this, I've already thought of how I'm going to do this, I am going to mark down the days, a tally, and date every day that I do the 10 pages in whatever book that I'm doing it in for this sort of makeup challenge. I hope that makes sense, but I felt like it would be a good motivation for me to make up a few of those days, but also just get some more books off my shelf, get some more books off my TBR. I'll explain more at the end of the year, but I think you get what I'm saying. I hope you get what I'm saying. I probably sound a little bit insane. I am a little bit manic this morning, but stay lovey. Okay, see you later. We're done. Another one down. I look rough. To be fair, I did just wake up. I knew that I was going to finish this book today, and I was like, as soon as I wake up, I'm going to finish it. So that is The Gamage Cup. I finished it a day earlier than what I thought I was going to finish. I really liked it. Full review better at the end of the video, but this is a super easy read, just a super refreshing read. I don't remember when I got this. As I said, I got it sometime back in the years at my K through 12 school. I think this could be, it's more of like a middle school read, but honestly, I think it's appropriate even for like an elementary school read. The content and the language and all that is just that accessible. It's just that devourable, that bingeable. Just a nice, easy on the brain, easy on the time little fantasy story. I love this. I think if I read this as a kid, which I don't remember doing, but I very well may have, I would have loved this as much as I probably love The Hobbit. It's like kind of in a similar vein. So 5 out of 5 stars. This was just a good, fun cleanser of a time, good little fun fantasy book. How? My stitches. The next book that I have decided on is It Is Wood, It Is Stone. I don't know much about this book. I got it from my local library's discard sale. I got it for like $1. The cover is absolutely gorgeous. I'm a big mustard yellow fan. But this one is also pretty short. I think it's only like 200 pages, so I'll probably finish it in less than a month too. I'm really trying to pack in as much as possible in these final 2 months of the year. Linda, an anxious and restless American, has moved to Sao Paulo with her husband Dennis, who has accepted a year-long professorship. Dennis gets busy, she finds herself alone, dissociated from her own body, and then something about the maid. They're struggling to be in Brazil, their complicated history and racial tensions, exasperated by Linda's instability. One day, Linda leaves home with a charismatic and beguiling artist who she joins on a fervent adventure that causes reverberations felt by everyone and ultimately binds Marta and Linda in a profoundly human and tender way. Sapphic? Possibly? Either way, it sounds beautiful, so this is what we're going to be on the next one. I need to get more of this shelf read. Okay, good morning. Hello, my friends. It is December 29th. That means we are 2 days out from having this yearly challenge finished. And I have some bad news. My current read, which I was estimated to have finished December 27th, I'm still reading it. I'm less than 100 pages from finishing it, but I am not finished with it. So I am late, but while I am slightly disappointed, I'm also not that mad about it, because if I had finished it on the date, that would have given me like 4 extra days, and like I said before, I didn't just want to start a new book so close to the end of the year and have a repeat of last year's situation where I had a bunch left to go and a bunch of numbers and blah blah blah. So I'm not that mad about it, that I can spend these 4 days now catching up and doing this properly. Am I doing it properly? Because I failed the original intention. I didn't fail the original intention, I just had it. Conditions shifted. So while I'm a little bit disappointed, I'm not that upset, because now, instead of having 4 days in limbo of not utilizing them to the utmost potential, I can just use those 4 days to help finish this. Or I should say the next 2 days, including the rest of today and tomorrow, because the 31st, New Year's Eve, I am pretty much booked all day for audio gigs, because everyone's having New Year's Eve parties. So that day is pretty much off the table. I have today and tomorrow to finish this, which I can absolutely do. As soon as I finish this update, I'm going to start on it now, and probably maybe finish it tonight, but I'm not going to rush myself. That being said, I still have 40 days, I think, that I can make up for. So, in addition to reading this, I pretty much have nothing to do the rest of the night. I did a lot of digital organizing today, so I want my eyes off of a screen. I think I'm going to try and make up some of those days by, like how I said, by reading some of these books that have been on my shelf for a long time. So I'm going to try and finish this tonight, which will knock off 10 days, because I think I have 100 pages left. We'll go over all the details later, but for right now, that's where we're at. Enough blabbing. I will, I guess, see you on the 31st, or see you when I'm updating the end of this. Bye. Welcome back! Did you enjoy your journey? I sure hope you did, because I had a fun time. Let's get into the roundup stats of this video, shall we? Because that's what you're here for, and the quick summaries. And my focus are all the way over there! There's a place on Ocean Avenue where I used to sit and talk with you. No, I didn't, because I'm alone. All just filming here in my home. That's not with the tempo of the song, but anyway. This is what happens when Chey films past 10 p.m. And when I say quick summaries, I do actually mean pretty quick summaries, because I feel like I did a pretty good job of summarizing my thoughts throughout this video, but as time has passed, I have garnered a little more, I was gonna say eloquence, but that would be a straight up lie. Nothing about me has ever been, nor ever will be eloquent, so just more specific thoughts. Let's get into some very specific, fun numbers facts. Hold on, operator error. All in all, despite missing many days this year, I ended up reading 8 books. 8 books total. Sheesh. Whew. Hi. That's right. All 8 of these bad boys. Finished just this year. 10 pages a day. Bask in it. Bask in it. Bask in it. Because I am. I did this? You're telling me... Me? Me, myself, and I? So 8 books. Cool. Awesome. That's great. I almost have to put these down because my biceps are crying. Triceps. Forearms. And I did something a little bit different this year that I hadn't considered last year, which honestly made life kind of a little bit more difficult. Since a lot of the books that I'm reading are nonfiction, they often have pages and pages, often sometimes over 100 pages, of indexes or notes or any kind of citations, and I don't go through and read that for 10 pages a day. However, I also feel like it's kind of dishonest to say, like, to count the total number of pages for a book and be like, yeah, I read that all for 10 pages, when like 100 of that were bibliographies or annotations or what have you. So, with a little bit of common sense, just a dash here and there, I am allowed a sprinkling, I am allowed a sampling every now and then, I know. Shocking to me too. I decided to keep a statistic of total pages and then actual pages read. So the total pages are, as you can probably infer, the total number of pages with the annotations, bibliographies, index, all that fun stuff, and then actual pages read are just the actual pages I read. Why am I wasting time delving into that with you? You're not 2 years old. Are you? I hope not. 2-year-olds, am I right? No! Don't! Chey, cut that out. Chey, someone's gonna take that out of context. 2-year-olds? L. That's better. Not by a margin. As for the total number of pages combined through all these books that I read, we are at 3,479 pages read. Not too shabby. I don't remember. I was trying to think of what mine was last year, and I don't remember. is probably better. It's probably better than this, because as you've seen throughout the video, I did miss a lot of days here and there, and also a number I didn't calculate in was I did finish another book, because as I mentioned earlier, I had 40 days that I missed, and I'm like, okay, I can read 400 more pages. So there's a couple books that I picked up and broke the rule of reading only one book at a time, but there was a book that I started and finished reading by 10 pages a day and made up for some of those days. And if you're curious, we'll go over that statistic real fast. So at one point, my highest point, I was 69 days behind, because I was supposed to finish my first book on early February, March, or late February, early March, but I finished 130 days later on May 11th.
Oops.
So at my worst point, I was 69 days behind. So throughout the year, as you saw, there were different times when I actually made up some of those days. I ended up reading down to only being 28 days behind. So we went from being 69 days behind to only being 28. That's better than a fair portion, if I do say so myself. I read 41 days worth, so I read an extra 410 pages here and there between extra books. Though it's not really extra books, because as you saw in the video, I finished Hunger Games early. I was 69 days behind, now I'm only 28. Which, you know what? I'm not mad about. I mean, I'm disappointed, but I'm not mad. If you, like me, were curious, though, how many total pages there were plus the notes, like the number of pages total in all these books, only the official books that I'm counting, and not the ones that I read 10 pages in here and there to make up for days, the total number of pages, so remember, the pages actually read were 3,479, not including the extras books, just the official 8 books. The total number of pages, though, with notes, 4,344. You see why it makes a difference to count between notes and no notes? You see why I felt like I'd be lying a little bit if I included the notes? You get it? Before I go through the real quick summary of these books, I just wanted to go over another little fun fact that I thought would be, well, fun. When I actually finish the book, I tally up how many days it actually took me to finish it and compare that to the days that I estimated. And the one little fun fact I wanted to tell you was the book that I finished the earliest than expected. Is that correct grammar? It might as well be. My brain is mush. Or rather, the book that I finished the fastest versus when I expected to, and that is The Hunger Games. I estimated 37 days to finish this. I finished it in 18. Some runners-up were Relentless Strike, which I finished 8 days early. Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power, also finished 8 days early. Most of these books I did actually end up finishing early. Some only a few days, some several days, like Hunger Games. But I'm actually pretty proud of that, because that means that you can always squeeze more in before the end of the year. That being said, let's now go over these puppies, because you and I both want to get out of here. Makers of Modern Strategy. Boy howdy, am I so freaking glad to be done with this book. This wrist damage waiting to happen is now done, and I have read every single freaking page, except for the notes. But who cares about those? I learned a lot in this, and I thought it was actually pretty well written and understandable and digestible, especially for 10 pages a day. It did take possibly the longest out of any of these to read the 10 pages in the morning, but it was worth it because I learned a lot. And it's funny because a lot of this information I ended up just kind of seeing elsewhere throughout the world, which is part of the fun part about reading. You read things and you're like, hey, I understand more about the world around me and in general. Wowzers! I am sorry to anyone who has any iteration of whatever accent that was. Would not read again, will reference in the future. Then I believe the next one was Relentless Strike. I kind of talked ad nauseum about this, so I'm just going to reiterate, wow, that lighting changes so rapidly. Really well written, again, digestible, accessible. If you have any interest in Spec Ops or Joint Special Operations Command, cannot recommend this highly enough. I thought it was going to be so super detail stacked, but it is not. It is very much you're sitting down at a bar with a buddy who happens to know all this stuff and is just reiterating it to you in a way that then you could explain to a 5-year-old. But yet it's not dumbed down. It's just not distressed. What is the word that I'm looking for? I'll think of it in editing. Might reread it as a refresher in a few years, maybe a decade from now, but I could potentially see myself rereading it and enjoying it. Then I can't really remember, but I think it was Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power, I think. This book was pretty well written. I am obviously not a Jefferson apologist, but this did give me a new appreciation for a lot of the roles that Jefferson had in shaping American culture, a lot of things that he tried to get through and do in his life, but also just his grasp of the political sphere at the time, his political maneuvering knowledge, like knowing that he couldn't get a certain law to pass or like in a certain time because like society would not be able to handle it or like couldn't be ready for it because like no one would let it pass. While it didn't make me a new Jefferson superfan, it definitely taught me a lot. I am keeping this. I thought that I might unhaul it because I have other books that have a lot of this information, but there were a lot of tidbits in here that I did not know, and like I said, gave me a new perspective, gave me a new appreciation for a lot of elements in Revolutionary history that I did not know about or hadn't seen it from that perspective, from Jefferson's point of view, let alone what role he played in it besides the Declaration of Independence and just his life overall. My dear Jefferson, my dear Lafayette. I also have a really good Lafayette book here, Lafayette in the Somewhat United States. We got The Hunger Games. I loved this much more than I thought I would. I bailed on this in 5th grade. It irritated me because I was like, it's too detailed. Disgusting. I can't picture this stuff for myself because she's telling me, God forbid the author tells me what they want me to see. That was my little miniature author brain being like, step aside, Collins. I'm here to make my own world. She has held up surprisingly well. Wow, look at that. Scholastic, $8.99 paperbacks. The days. I'm intensely glad that I gave this a second chance, though, because I don't see myself becoming a Hunger Games superfan. I think the train has left the station for me on that. But I'm definitely interested enough in this world to possibly go back and watch the movies again with a new appreciation and read the next book at the least. It's just a book that I really don't have to sell you on, so I'm not gonna try. I had to sell myself on this book. I know that it's YA dystopian, so I have to have a level of separation in terms of being like, a 16-year-old or whatever wouldn't do that, doesn't think that way. I know I have to have a level of disconnect, but sometimes that stuff really bothered me, and I'm not gonna lie. However, I am the person that when people like trash talk Jorgen Craft, Prince of Thorns, being like, a 14-year-old wouldn't do that, I'm like, it's fantasy. It's grimdark fantasy, okay? And he's a traumatized young lad. He would do that. So I totally get it, and I know you have to have a level of separation, a level of distance, and so I did. That didn't take points away from it, but it did sometimes make me eye roll a time or two. There were also some things that she just did where I was like, girl, really? But that also made it more real, that made it more human, so I kind of appreciated that. I don't like when things are flawless. As 21 Pilots says, don't trust a song that's flawless. I don't trust a character that's flawless. I don't trust a man that's flawless. I don't trust a person that's flawless. I don't trust it. That earned it respect. That didn't really, I mean, yeah, it earned some eye rolls, but then afterwards I was like, I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're not always right, that things aren't always perfect, because the woods don't want you here. Yes, because of the Capitol, but also, like, I appreciated that Katniss knew, like, the woods decide if they want to welcome you or not. The wild decides if you are welcome or not. You don't decide that. Then we have Directorate S by Steve Cole. This is just another big non-fiction chonker that's been sitting on my shelf scaring the crap out of me for years. Finally decided to give it a go. Like Relentless Strike, it's pretty accessible, pretty digestible, especially for the amount of information that it just compacts in here. It feels well researched and it feels well told, which I think can be a hard balance, especially when you're talking about such an intricate subject like this, especially with a lot of sensitive topics interwoven into it. It's hard to maintain that balance and not make your reader feel like they're drinking from a fire hose, you know? But I think this book does it, especially if you take it in doses like I did, and I think a lot of the chapters are generally like 10 to 20 pages. It's told well, it's explored well, a lot of things are explained well. I really liked it. I'm not gonna take this as the end-all be-all on a lot of subjects, but I feel like it was well researched enough and cited enough and delved into reputable resources that I definitely take this as a valuable learning asset for a lot of subjects that I felt like I was familiar with beforehand, but reading something like this makes you realize, like, oh crap, There is still so much more left to learn. And that's a great thing. Of course, no nonfiction book is perfect. They never will be. As long as it's a valuable learning tool in a lot of aspects, take what you can from it, pocket what you can, pocket what you love, as Allison Pages says, and just carry on. Learn more elsewhere. The book after that was The Gamage Cup. This is a book that's very, very long time been sitting on my shelf. I got this as a discard from my school library back in the day. And after reading that heavy book, I needed something light on my brain and something that I could also take on the plane with me to Paris. Something that I could easily just shove in my backpack and I could cart around. This was the perfect fit. If you want a whimsical, very fun, goofy, but also heartfelt time, this is your fantasy book. If you like The Hobbit, fans of The Hobbit, fans of Smurfs, read this. Actually, it has a lot in common with Smurfs. It's kind of crazy. There was also something else that I saw recently that I was like, oh, wicked! Because the whole thing about coming over in a balloon, the founder came over in a balloon. Guess who also came over in a balloon and is the founder of this town and like the country or whatever? Interesting. And it's a whole society built on lies. Interesting. Interesting. I'm not saying anything specific about that. I genuinely do just think it's an interesting theme. One thing I love about this book is it's not really mixed media throughout, but just the little details. The illustrations, first of all, are amazing. Add to the story. Would be like a perfect bedtime story to read to someone. Yeah, I was gonna say kid, but then like, you can read a bedtime story to anyone, if you're not a coward. The illustrations help make it. But also the use of, like, when there's, like, little carvings, or when someone writes on a document, someone signs their name. I'm trying to find a specific example. Like this, when there's a public notice in town, and it actually has, like, a scrawled little notice. I love details like that. Really make the book. Help the immersion. A fun, sweet little story full of adventure and a actually unique cast of characters that have their own little spotlights, their own little moments in the sun, and they don't fall flat. They all feel rounded out. Good, good, good. Great, great, great. Recommend it for any age. Recommend it for you. Recommend it for whoever you want to recommend it to. After that, things went downhill. It is Wood, It is Stone by Gabriella Burnham. I was watching my friend Nat's channel, another beautiful human being who is one of my very good friends here on YouTube. Link in description, you should go check her out too. I was watching one of Nat's recent videos, her best and worst books of 2024, and I'm so glad that I watched that today because the way that she said something, I was like, Nat, hold it. Hold the phone. That is exactly what I was thinking. She just found a way to say it because she's smarter and better than me in every way possible. I forget what she was talking about, Nat, forgive me, but she said, and I'm paraphrasing, so don't go to that and be like, Chey is quoting on you, and she sounds really dumb, so are you like... Basically, what she said was she can read about unlikable characters, but she has to be able to root for them. And I feel the exact way, and I think that's what a big crux of my problem was with this book, is that not only was she unlikable to me, I understand that the main character is probably not going to be unlikable to a lot of people. She's unlikable to me. And I could not root for her, especially the whole thing with cheating on her husband, and then, like, being like, oh, I don't know why he's mad at me. I just left for 4 days without saying anything, never even called, never even left a note, not even when I got there, not even on my way home. Why is he so upset? I can't. There's no way on God's green earth I would root for you. Your husband's not perfect. You sure as hell, the bar's so low. The things that this book had going for it are literary fans probably gonna love it. It just helped to show me that I am not a lit, thick girly that much. I also did not like normal people. So, take that as your gauge, I guess. If you liked normal people, you might like this kind of book. Messy people, messy lives, coming of age. Sometimes that works for me. In this format, does not. I appreciated the talk about periods and a lot of the talk about different traumas and microaggressions and things like that, exploring of other cultures and awareness of that. A lot of the elements of this book like that, I loved. The writing itself, I loved. The language, the prose. absolutely beautiful. Gabriella Burnham, you crushed it. It's the characters I have the issue with, and I don't hold that too much against the author because it, like I said, just helped me realize that, like, I am probably not the intended audience, and that's okay. I'm not gonna go review darn the Goodreads. Instead, what I'm gonna do is I am just going to thank the book for its time, and I'm glad because I got this from my library for $1. So either way, I won, my library won, that's what matters to me, and I'm gonna pass this along to a friend who probably will love it. It's just gonna get a new life. That life's just not gonna be with me. The last book, well, really second to last book that I finished this year, Jefferson and Hamilton, The Rivalry That Forged a Nation. Look at this art, first of all. They are, woo! Woo! They are upset. I really like this book. I went into this not expecting to be, like, fully against Jefferson or anything like that. I came in with an open mind, but I was also a Hamiltonian in 2018. What were we called? I forget. I was a big Hamilton fan back then. So I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I came in with a lot of biases. I did. Tell me why this book made me be like, oh, Hamilton's actually kind of the villain. Yikes. He thought farmers were stupid. Oh no. Tell me why. Tell me why! Listen, it didn't make it out for me to be like, oh my god, Jefferson's the hero in this situation. Jefferson's a god amongst men. He's so much more than, like, Hamilton will ever be. Nothing like that. But I learned things about Hamilton in here that Lin-Manuel, I was like, you didn't mention that. Interesting. Like, a lot of, and you'd be like, oh, well, the facts to suit this, whatever. Hamilton's own writings, talking about, like, farmers, you know, being stupid and, like, the different ways that the government should be intrusive on people and agrarian, like, all kinds of stuff, that I was just like, dude, I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. It felt like a slap in the face because it was the first time that I had read stuff like that, and not like a disillusioned slap to the face. It was more of just like oh, well, that's interesting, because I'm a history student. I understand that no one, like I said, is perfect. No one is flawless. There's hardly anyone throughout history you could look at and be like, wow, I sure love everything about them and everything that they stand for. No, you can like people and not agree with everything that they say. You know what I mean? Jefferson had his faults, Hamilton had his faults. This book just pointed out a lot more of Hamilton's faults than I had been previously aware of. And how much I disagreed with him on a lot, actually, on certain matters, not everything. However, I feel like it was a little unfair to my boy Ham. Why I say that? The way that this author approached talking about the differences between Jefferson and Hamilton. Whenever Hamilton did something, it was like, Hamilton did this thing. Oh, but in reality, it was actually like this. Like, he's a big, dumb idiot. And no, even worse, it was like, Hamilton may have been doing X because of Y. He thought that he was making this decision because he believed this. In reality, this is what he was actually doing. And it's a theory, not based in facts. Like, it's like, he was doing this because he actually thought this, because he sought the praise of these people and he was utilizing this person as a tool. And it's like, okay, you can make that theory and you can hypothesize. I don't feel like you could say in reality that's what was happening, though. Because guess what? For Jefferson, doesn't really do that. Does it sometimes, but doesn't, like, hypothesize. Doesn't theorize and claim it as reality. And so I'm like, that feels a little tilted there, my guy. That feels a little bit, you know what I mean? Don't know how I feel about that one, but it's not great. So, take that with a grain of salt, and a seesaw. This taught me so much, though. I actually started tabbing it. I don't know if you can tell. I need to go back and put more tabs in it, but I actually started tabbing it. I learned many quotes in here that I had not known previously. A lot of different documents, kind of like the other Jefferson book. A lot of perspectives, but I felt like this delved even more into Jefferson's perspective and his actual, like, that one was kind of a broad overview of his life and, like, the highlights, which, you know, is understandable. If it were to cover everything, it would be, like, this giant of a book. So this one could delve into a little bit more specifics, especially surrounding his time actually serving in government. And that was interesting to me because a lot of that I did not know in detail from Jefferson's perspective in his own writings and things like that. And even some things that were explored in this book, another reason why I love differing books on the same subject, delved a little bit deeper into those using different sources or different parts of the same sources to add on to further context. But like this Jefferson bar right here, had the Almighty begotten 1,000 sons instead of one, they could not have eradicated the ignorance, superstition, poverty, oppression of body and mind that churches had inflicted, he once remarked. Noah Sebastian would like to know your location. Bad Omens would like to know your location. I don't know why I just singled Noah out. I guess because I was thinking of Dethroned and just, you know, get called out, Noah. Also, Hamilton's 53 essays were only 100,000 words. Get good, scrub. I have written fan fictions that have over 1 million totaling. Get good, scrub. Definitely highly recommend this one to people. Just be careful because, like I said, there is a little bit of a woo towards Jefferson, I feel like. That's not outright, but sounded like a horse. The last book that I technically read was Out of the Vinyl Deeps, Ellen Willis on rock music. This was the book that I was like, I'm gonna read 10 pages a day and to catch up on my backlog days. In 1968, The New Yorker hired Ellen Willis as its first popular music critic. Her column, Rock, etc. ran for 7 years and established Willis as a leader in cultural commentary and a pioneer in the nascent and otherwise male-dominated field of rock criticism. This is just a culmination of all of Ellen's columns and her other writings about popular music. And I picked this up in a used bookstore, thought it was really interesting. Also, feminist, so I was like, I gotta read the first female, like, rock critic. Sorry, not first female rock critic. First popular music critic for The New Yorker. One of the pioneers of femmes in writing music critiques. Get it out, Chey! Woo! As you can see, I started tabbing towards the end. I have mixed feelings on this book. I nearly DNF'd it. How do I say this without sounding harsh? Her best writings in this book are not the music criticisms, they are the writings on feminism and society. Music taste sucks. I'm sorry, that is so mean. It's past midnight now. I don't give a damn. I didn't almost DNF this because I don't agree with her music taste or we don't share the same music taste. But it was a factor in leveling my enjoyment, because when I have to read almost a 10-page essay about how great Bob Dylan is or how great The Who is, and I'm just sitting there like, you know? That's not to say that I don't like Bob Dylan or The Who. I do. I am just not writing 10 pages about Bob Dylan's personality and his irony and his albums and his songs, his personality, but I will make a 3-hour rant about Beartooth's latest album. Pick your battles, choose your fighter. Anyway, I almost DNF'd this because of different takes she had in here, like calling Elvis a stupid hick because he grew up low-class poverty hillbilly. She literally called him a stupid hick. Granted, that could have been written in irony, it could have been written in satire, as like a spitting bite towards people that felt that about Elvis, but just as someone who's pitched as leftist and feminist, that was a really classist remark that left a really bitter taste in my mouth, and I just did not enjoy that. Say what you will about Elvis, but like, just calling him a bland, like, stupid hick because of, like, where he's come from, as someone who's grown up with that stereotype thrown onto me a lot just because of where I come from and not knowing a lick of sense about me, not a fan. That's nothing to hold against her entire legacy, because like I said, granted, it could have been written in satire. I don't know. I can't ask her, but it did just leave a bad, icky taste in my mouth. The essays that have more of a sociological bend to them or exploration tied in with the music, I really, really loved those. I thought all of them were really good. There was none that I flat out was like, what? Even if I disagree with them, even if I didn't like the music that she was like, oh, I love this, or like, this is great, or whatever, I love reading about stuff like that when someone is passionate about it, because you get to see that new perspective, you get a new understanding that maybe next time if you do ever hear that song again, or you do ever hear that artist again, you think about that stuff and it adds into your data bank, it adds into your memory of the way you can interpret and perceive things and widen your viewpoint on the world and people in general, and maybe, you know, step a little bit in their shoes. And I especially appreciated it as someone who isn't into the artist that she was very much into. It let me step into her brain, because I'm like, okay, now I see why you and a billion other people may love this person that I don't have that same level of passion for, something that I can't understand. You're letting me into your world to understand it, and as a music fan overall, I appreciate that. I love that. Possibly one of my favorite parts of this book is when she's talking about Janis Joplin, who had passed recently at the time that she was writing this. And there's this paragraph that says, Janis Joplin's death, like that of a fighter in the ring, was not exactly an accident. Yes, it's too easy to label it either, though it involved elements of both. Call it rather an inherent risk of the game she was playing, a game whose often frivolous rules both hid and revealed a deadly serious struggle. That form that struggle took was incomplete, short-sighted, egotistical, self-destructive. But survivors who give in to the temptation to feel superior to all that are in the end know better than those who romanticize it. Janis was not so much a victim as a casualty. The difference matters. Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hell yeah! And as you can see, like I said, I tabbed the crap out of it towards the end. And there's probably a lot more that if I actually go through and did it, I'd find even more. But gems like that, if you're looking for feminist writers, if you're looking for great new perspectives in rock writing, especially in the 60s, 70s, 80s time period, yes, Ellen Willis. Great perspective to read, to broaden your reach. But that's gonna be it for me. We're done. It's almost 1 a.m. I'm tired. This video is super long. You want to get out of here. So do I. While I am still 20-something days behind, I am incredibly proud of myself and all that I accomplished this year in reading a bunch of these books, because these are some of the books that have been on my bookshelf the longest and staring me in the face, and I'm really excited to tackle some more of these this coming year. And yes, spoiler alert, there will be another yearly edition of this. I'm planning on just making this every single year. The formula will get better and better and more unhinged, as you'll probably see, but that is the plan. It's just kind of make this as a yearly recap each year, because these are fun to do and fun to explore and just watch what happens. So look forward to next year's, because I feel really good about this year. I look at this pile of books and I'm proud. And that's the main point, is if you're reading, you're winning. And it's all about your taste, it's all about your comfort, it's all about what you want to do and making yourself happy. Don't forget to do that. You deserve happiness, you deserve to be here. Thank you for being here. And that leads me into thank you for being here with this video. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you. If you stuck around on this channel, whether you're new or a returning viewer, welcome, or glad to see ya. And especially if you're new, we'd love for you to stick around here. We being me, it's me here on this channel. I'd love for you to stick around and see whatever chaos I happen to get up to that week or month or yearly. Sometimes I make videos about album reviews. Sometimes it's a yearly vlog of reading. Sometimes it's a whole thing about a town being obsessed with mules or a terrible shark horror movie. You honestly never know. I am the mystery box that you did not realize you ordered, but shows up anyway. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and hit subscribe down below, especially because I don't mean to brag. I got a lot more fun stuff coming this year, a lot more unhinged, chaotic stuff. I think you'll really want to be here for that, so I don't mean to influence you. But if you do, if that sounds interesting to you, you should hit subscribe down below and stick around and see what happens. See what you get in the mystery box. As for right now, though, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. If you're not ready to get the hell out of here, if you want to spend some more time with me, I have a ton of other videos on my channel. If you want to spend some more time with me or just with books, me and books, I have a whole playlist full of my books videos. I'll link up in the cards and possibly in the description below or at the end of this video. Plenty of stuff for you there, and plenty of stuff for you all around. Plenty of stuff to come. It's all good, baby. It's okay. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you ain't heard it from anyone else today, I love you. Love and peace.